Good afternoon, Senator France, Senator Davis, and the members of the committee. Thank you for this opportunity and for taking the time to consider the following. I'm Robert Dahn. I'm a professional surveyor and partner in a land surveying and civil engineering firm in Manchester, Connecticut. I'm past president of the Connecticut Association of Land Surveyors, chair of our legislative committee, and I'm also a past president of the National Society of Professional Surveyors. On behalf of CALS, I'm here to express opposition to the provisions of Senate Bill 946 that remove the sales tax exemption for design professionals in the state of Connecticut. Design professionals in Connecticut include architects, engineers, and land surveyors. We provide a variety of valuable and often necessary services to the citizens of the state. Historically, design professions have been exempt from the sales tax. Under similar circumstances in 1989, this body chose to remove that exemption. At the time, the tax was found to be ineffective and difficult to administer. In 1992, the legislature restored the exemption largely because of these reasons. A significant majority of the CALS membership work in the private sector. Among this group, most are employed by small firms. We are just beginning to see a slow yet steady recovery from what is probably the most severe economic downturn that any of us have lived through. The sales tax will have a profound effect on all survey businesses in Connecticut. Any change to the marketplace could affect this fragile recovery. Small firms would especially be affected. In many small firms, the licensed professional and the managing partner are the same person. Time spent administering the tax will ultimately be included in the cost along with the taxes themselves. Even as the economy has improved, bottom line costs have a greater factor in whether a project moves forward than ever before. Small residential and low-income projects appear to be particularly affected by this. Most design projects include extensive permitting and regulatory process. Typically, this process is a collaborative effort between the design professionals and attorneys. Real estate conveyances and commercial land title transactions are the same. Under Senate Bill 946, attorneys would be exempt from the sales tax and design professionals would be taxed while working on the same process, adding yet another financial burden to the tenuous housing recovery. CALS recognizes the importance of fiscal responsibility. A balanced budget is as important to government as it is to a small business. We do not envy your task, and in the end, whether you choose to raise taxes, cut spending, or a combination of the two, we believe it should be done and assessed proportionally and equitably. Thank you.
Jeffrey W. McDougal, current president of Connecticut Association of Land Surveyors and the owner of a private surveying firm in Darien. I will not cover a lot of the same ground that Bob had covered just for expediency. A few of the things that we really feel would impact business is a lot of the surveying firms are small businesses, as I am, and we went through this, in the late 80s, and it was very much a burden on the company to comply with all of the tax regulations, and it was very complicated, and it did require extra time. So there was that added cost that we had to deal with. A lot of the things that we're seeing today in the industry, when we look at the newly licensed land surveyors and how many there are in the state, a couple of years ago at our annual meeting, we had one licensed land surveyor that we introduced. It's been well below the norm. We were only 5 or 6 at most during any one year period. A big part of that is there is no incentive for the land surveyors to open up their own firm. The business is something that is just very difficult right now in the economic downturn. I don't believe that this tax, as the repeal of the tax is really going to benefit the construction industry. It definitely will add more cost to the overall design projects. So we are definitely against the repeal of the exemption for the tax. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you both for being willing to consolidate your testimony here today in the interest of time. I find it interesting. I know the feedback that I've gotten from a number of land surveyors is the difficulty of even collecting payment oftentimes from their customers. As most people might know, or perhaps they do not, a lot of the time a land surveyor will do the work and then bill their client, whether it be a commercial client or a residential client, and then have to wait sometimes weeks or months to get payment, if they get payment at all, if they don't have to put a lien on the property. And unfortunately, because we don't have the language of this bill, because it was passed out of the committee without having any statutory language attached to it, we don't know if land surveyors will be responsible for collecting a tax on billing, which would be when you first send your bill out to your client, or if it's to be collected on the collection side of things, which sometimes is significantly less than what you actually billed for, because you negotiate down your rates, as many of these services that will now be taxed do as well. And I was just wondering if you could comment on the impact on cash flow for your businesses, if in fact the tax has to be collected on billing rather than on collection.